I tried becoming someone who actually follows through, but I'm actually the type of person who gets excited, starts strong, and then disappears. If that sounds like you, this will fix it. Right now, I trust my ideas more than I trust my actions. I know what I gotta do, but I don't always do it. And I'm starting to realize that this isn't actually about discipline, it's actually about something deeper. I've tried forcing consistency before, but it always turns into pressure, that turns into burnout, that leads to me starting over. It seriously became a vicious cycle. Here are the four mistakes that I made and how I fixed them. Mistake number one, I stopped relying on motivation. Energy doesn't lie. So I realized that I only followed through when I felt like it. So if I woke up that morning and wasn't in the mood to create, I just wouldn't. I seriously started making excuses not to create. And because there was no one around to necessarily hold me accountable, there was no structure. Now, I'm not saying that no structure is bad at all. I'm just saying I didn't have a routine and I wasn't disciplined enough to not only rely on motivation. So then what did I do? I made some very small, micro, non emotional goals. They were tiny little goals that I made that no matter what, I would do during the day. I consider them my non negotiables. So for you, this may look very different depending on your lifestyle, but for me, these are what I did. So the first thing that I did when I wake up in the morning is I would just lay there, close my eyes, and be very intentional about my day. I started off with a minute, then went to 5, then 10. Now I'm doing 20-minute meditations in the morning just to start off my day. So, with meditation, I used to think that I needed to go really deep into practice and do it right, and because there was a look to meditation. But actually, meditation is different for everyone. All meditation really is just sitting with your thoughts and watching them. That's it. For me, I needed to start there in order to go deeper into my practice. The purpose of this is to sit with your thoughts, to see them, be aware of them, and work with them rather than be against them. Once you are aware of the chatter in your brain, it makes it so much easier to navigate life. Next, I would just make note of how I feel in my body at that moment. For example, did I sleep well? Did I have dreams? Did I wake up in the middle of the night? Do I feel rested? If I didn't feel rested, I would tell myself in the morning, it is okay because it does happen, but I'm still going to have a great day. Even if I don't feel like it in that moment, I put that intention out there and I speak it into existence. That way, that energy will follow me throughout the day. Now, having said that, your day is going to get tested. It is unfortunately and fortunately how the world works. Once you put that intention out there that you're going to have a great day, you simply detach from that. And what I mean by that is not to have any expectations of how exactly it's going to be for you. Because the truth is, you can still decide to have a great day no matter what happens to you. The important thing to remember here is that life is always working for you, even if it may not seem like it. Okay, mistake number two. I actually kept promises embarrassingly small. During this time, my life was quite complicated. So, doing a complete overhaul of my life because I felt like that's what I needed to do was overwhelming to my nervous system. There was just no way I was going to be able to do everything all at one time. So instead of saying, I need to change my life right now, what I did do was, you know what? I'm going to show up for the next 10 minutes. And then after those 10 minutes, I would say the same thing. Okay, I'm going to show up again for the next 10 minutes. I was really focused on building self trust instead of chasing all these big wins. Now, are big wins great? Of course, absolutely. We're humans, so we strive for things like that. But for me, because my nervous system was so unregulated, there was just no way I could do that. I started learning how to celebrate all my wins, even the smallest ones. When I started doing that, I started learning how to trust myself, that I can make decisions and follow through with them. And over time, that started to compound and made it a lot easier to do larger tasks. What was most important for me was the integrity with myself. I needed to learn what was in alignment with myself. And that is going to look very different to everyone. The most woo woo thing I did during this time was to actually look at myself and notice what I was doing and how I was feeling. That leads me to mistake number three. I literally watched my identity in real time. When I learned to just sit with myself and my thoughts, it got easier and easier to catch myself when I wasn't doing what I promised. Every single time I wanted to quit, I noticed this is the version of me that actually doesn't want to follow through. I came up with so many excuses not to do it. And what's actually kind of scary about this is that you can get pretty carried away and go down a really long, dark path. It is so important to stay conscious and to be aware of your thoughts when it is happening. That is the only way you can nip this in the bud. I grew up very critical of myself, and I used to always judge myself for almost everything, actually. My inner critic was pretty harsh, and once I realized I started catching myself in real time, I learned how to not judge it and just observe it. And if that sounds too woo woo for you, let me explain. You cannot fix something that you are still judging. Why? Because your mind is focused on the judgment and not the solution. You cannot be in two places at the same time. You see what's happening, you observe, and then you recalibrate. This awareness creates separation from your old patterns. This allows you to see your old patterns and let it dissolve because you are no longer that person that has those patterns. And the more you do this, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the faster you get to live the life that you want. Mistake number four. I stopped restarting every single time I had messed up. I used to feel like it was the end of the world if I didn't do what I said I was going to do. This was a skill that I was learning, and so I needed to give myself space to be able to make mistakes. We're human, so mistakes will happen, but also mistakes should not be your crutch. I stopped spiraling out of control every single time that I would make a mistake. It was hard at first, and I still messed up a few times. The important thing is that I still continued and I kept going no matter what, even if I was crawling instead of walking. I had to let go of the fact that I needed to be a perfect human to be worthy of anything. I needed to learn that there is actually no such thing as perfection and that mistakes is where we learn and we grow. So it can become a very beautiful thing if you allow it to. Once I let go of the idea that I needed to be perfect, I started breaking the ego loop. I stopped letting my ego tell me what I was and wasn't. Sometimes we have this idea that everything needs to be perfect and everything will go just as planned, but that's actually not the case. Most of the times, it is incredibly messy. If you feel like you are behind or not perfect or not doing it right or don't have all the answers, let me tell you something. You are exactly where you need to be and know exactly what you need to know. There is a season for everything, and right now, it is your season. I didn't magically become someone who follows through perfectly, but I also realized something in that following through isn't about becoming a new person overnight. It's actually about proving to yourself in those small moments that you can trust your own word. And that feels different, quieter, but stronger. Next, I'm going to lock in for the next 7 days. No excuses, no skipping. I'll share with you everything, the wins, the failures, and what actually changes. This channel is going to keep me accountable. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next video.